I'm so excited I finally managed to track down a windshield for the 1948 GMC. It's been months and months searching for one, but we finally got it here, so I can't wait to get it installed here. Well, that's a little disappointing. Don't worry, it'll be okay. Actually know how to fix windshield stone bruises, so basically the same concept applies to this. So stay tuned for the whole video. I'm gonna show you how we can make this all new again, I hope. Well, if you know anything about glass or glass installation, the next 20 minutes or so is going to be quite painful to watch. So if you're one of those people, you probably don't want to watch any of this. You have been warned. A little while ago, one of our patrons mentioned that they'd like to see the rear glass installation on this truck. So I decided to oblige. So if you don't like what you see, well, you can blame the patrons for that, but they are the ones keeping the show on the air, so we certainly owe them that. And I was doing it, so I figured I might as well film it anyways. And just keep in mind here that I am not a professional glass installer, but this is just what worked for me. So we're starting with the center window, and this seal is of course a pre-made seal, but it fits a variety of trucks, so you do have to cut it down, which we already did. But when you're cutting it down, you want to leave an extra inch or so, and then just kind of force the seal in, and that allows for the shrinkage and expansion or contraction or whatever. I guess shrinkage mainly. So I'm just rubbing a little bit of soapy water into the channel to help with the glass. I don't like using a lot of it because the more soapy water, messy stuff I get on my hands, it's just more likely that the glass is going to slip out of my hands and break. So we only use what we absolutely need. I did not use soapy water before because the truck was in bare metal, and water and bare metal usually don't jive together too well. So we had to do it the hard way before, but now that we have some sort of coating on it, we can make our lives a little bit easier. So now I'm working the glass into the channel. This is, of course, a lock strip style glass installation, not a rope-in style. So this is apparently the way that it is installed and the way I've done these center windows in the past. Similar situation as like a square body windshield or what have you. So again, these are not a rope-in like the windshields are. But anyways, I'm just using a plastic urethane spreading tool thingy to kind of slowly work the glass into the weather stripping. And this is a bit nerve-wracking, but the thing with glass I find is it can be helpful to have two people, but having two people also means you're twice as likely to break the glass. And the only times I've ever broken glass back when I was doing collision and urethane in glass was when somebody was helping me. So that's certainly something to consider there. In this case, it's much easier for me to just do it by myself. And if it does break, then I'm the only one to blame, I guess. But we've had a fairly good track record so far. Just making sure that the seal is worked all the way around the glass. And then once we get that worked in, what I like to do is just tape the glass to the roof with a couple strips of tape, and that way if something pops out, then the glass doesn't fall on the floor, which is not very good. So that was the easy part. Now we have to get this lock strip installed here. That's this thing here, which is usually quite a challenge. Oh, hey there. Just wanted to say a huge thanks to a couple of our viewers, Scott Miller and the crew over at Lazy Hound Racing, Mick, Joseph, and Mary. They both sent us a very generous donation, which allowed us to go out and buy this specific lock strip installation tool, which I've never tried before. Normally I just use a rock and an old twig to install a lock strip, and it's quite a struggle. So I'm hoping this is going to make the process a little bit easier, but we'll give it a shot here. If I give up partway through and go back to the rock and the twig, it's not because this is garbage, it's just because I'm stubborn and set in my ways. But I'm hoping this makes it a little faster for us, but let's give it a whirl. So to start out, I just kind of ran the lock strip through some soapy water, and then I guess the idea here is to kind of jam the lock strip installation tool into the channel, and then you just want to kind of feed the lock strip in as you go. And I found that it kind of helped to kind of wiggle the tool as you go to kind of help feed it in. And it's also, as I discovered, important to make sure that the lock strip is going in straight, meaning both of the little tangs or whatever that are on it are both kind of going in flush. If it doesn't, you can kind of stop and just use a plastic tool or whatever to help push it in. But the corners I found were the trickiest because they're always quite tight. And there were a couple times where the tool popped out and I had to go back and kind of jam it back in there, but that's not a big deal, I guess. So we just kind of work our way around, and like I said, the corners are a bit of a challenge here. I know I don't know if it's needed or not, but some people say you do need to use a bedding compound on the glass seal itself to the pinch weld, and but I'm just putting these in dry because I'm selling the truck as a project, so I don't want to put a bunch of goop all over it and make a mess for someone if they decide they want to paint the truck or whatever. Then they got to pull the glass out and then they got a mess to clean up, so I just put them in dry. I do know on my 66 GMC it has the same style rear window seal, and there was never any bedding compound used on it, and it doesn't leak. It's been sitting outside for like a long time, like 15 or 14 years now. So, but I mean, whatever. I guess if it does end up leaking, it can always be popped back out and sealed up, but I certainly don't worry about it. And like I said, the truck is being sold as a project, and therefore that kind of stuff all kinds of goes along with being a project. So yeah, we're making good headway though with the tool here, and just occasionally I'll stop and just feed a little more soapy water in just to kind of help it along. Yeah, and I don't like using too much of that and get it sprayed everywhere, because then it's just more likely that the tool is gonna slip out and gouge something or other. I know my dad has a square body, I think it's 75 GMC, and he had somebody, a professional, come out to install it for him, the back glass, and I don't know what they did, but they managed to just destroy the seal putting it in. So I don't know what they were doing, but I guess one nice thing about not knowing what you're doing is you're a lot more careful, and that sort of thing can tend to be avoided as long as you use a little patience and common sense, I think. As I say that, I'll probably end up eating my words and breaking something later on, but for now, I think that's a good, always good practice. Again, the lock strip is going to be a little bit longer than what you need. So once you get it close, then I just kind of soaped it up again, and then I just used my plastic tool to kind of push the lock strip in and work it in around the window until it slipped in. And again, the idea behind that is just to keep the thing, when it shrinks, I guess the rubber will shrink, and then once it shrinks, you won't end up with a gap, in theory, at the bottom in the seal, which I guess that would be undesirable. Again, I've seen the professional glass guys where they cut the thing and they get the glass in, and then there's a huge gap at the bottom of the seal, and then they have to go back in with urethane or something and seal up that gap. So we didn't have that here, so that's kind of good, I guess. Now I'll move on to the corner windows, which were a little bit more tricky. One thing here I'll mention is apparently the correct way is to have the brake and the seal on the back panel of the cab in the center rather than at the bottom. I guess it's supposed to be less noticeable that way, but for me, that still is at eye level, so I chose to just put it along the bottom. Again, I guess that's not technically correct, but it works. And in theory, I would think you would want the brake at the bottom, just because that's what I did on the back glass there, so it all kind of matches. But whatever. Yeah, and I'm just rubbing some soapy water into the trough of the seal, and that was kind of help hopefully get the glass into place there. So I found the process for these was more or less identical to the back window, but we decided to record it anyways, just in case something went horribly wrong, because you always want to catch that on camera because it's good for YouTube views. But again, I'm just using the plastic tool there to help work it in, and that seemed to work out nicely for us. And again, going back to having a helper with glass, like I said, having another person there just just increases your chance of breaking it by 2. Like I said, I'll tell you about the first time I broke glass back when I was doing collision years and years ago. We had an induction heater for taking out urethane in glass, which worked awesome if you got the timing right, but if you didn't get the timing right, you'd burn all the paint off all the surrounding panels and just ruin everything. But I had gotten to the point where I was fairly good at it after I did screw up quite a bit of paint with it. But I was removing the rear window on like a newer BMW, and it had, of course, it had like a pearl paint and everything, so you really didn't want to screw up the paint. But I was removing it, and it was going really well, and I had it about, I'd say about 95% out. And then one of the other bodymen there, and I use the term loosely, decided to come help me, and moments later, the glass was shattered in pieces everywhere, which it's not real good. Of course, it always has to be on like the most expensive car, the most expensive glass. Fortunately, it's like an insurance job, so you don't have to worry about it coming out of your salary or anything. But again, you try not to destroy stuff too much when you're doing collision. But that was, I guess, the first glass incident I've had, and I guess the other one was more recent. When I was doing last time I was doing collision, which was I guess a couple years ago, and we used to get in a lot of newer GMC trucks, not the new ones, but like the 2018 style, and they all have this power sliding back window, which is the most idiotic thing ever. I don't know why you need a power sliding back window to begin with. Like, you're too much of a piece of garbage to just flip the little lever and slide the glass over, so it needs some overcomplicated thing. And of course, there's a huge recall on it because they all self-destruct, and you can't just replace the motor or the track. You have to replace the entire glass, and it's urethane in, and with modern vehicles, they just keep making them harder and harder to work on, and there's barely any room to actually get in and take out that glass. And you can't use an induction heater on it because it's encapsulated, and the center part, you can't get the heater on it because it's plastic. And so you're just fighting with this stupid thing with like, we had like an air, whatchamacallit, glass cutter, which worked well. It was an air cold knife is what it was called. Anyways, so we had to use that. But to actually get to the motor part, that part is like actually inside the back of the cab on the back panel. And the only way to get that is to remove half the interior. And of course, it's a GM warranty, so they don't pay nothing. So you have to take half the truck apart to get the back glass out, and then try really, really hard. And you only got like about an 1/8 inch all the way around to actually get in with the cutter and cut the glass out. So my first time doing one of those, and again, I had a guy showing me how much of a pain it is. And well, it was probably my fault. I got a little too pryy with it, and sure enough, it popped. And then so on top of having a warranty job that didn't pay anything to begin with, I now had to clean up a whole bunch of broken glass, so that was not real fun, and ended up having to do quite a bit of those glasses on warranty, and did not enjoy a single one. And nobody liked doing them, but you know, it was slow, so you didn't really have much choice. But I definitely, as much as I don't like doing this, as much of a pain it is, this is so much more enjoyable than doing those back glasses, or really any glass on a modern vehicle these days. Windshields usually aren't too bad, but now they got these stupid lane departure sensors and all this crap that they put in them that's totally unnecessary. Like, if you're too doped out of your mind to know what lane you're in, you're not going to notice a little light flashing on your dashboard that says you're in the wrong lane. But anyways, you had to take out the windshield and put a new one, and then get all this lane departure crap wired up, and then you have to take it out for a drive and hook it up to a computer and hope that the thing is gonna go through its computer things and gigabytes and X's and O's and ones and zeros and whatever, and half the time it wouldn't calibrate properly, and then you'd have to go mess around with it again, and sometimes the windshield would have some defect in it which wouldn't allow the lane departure thing to work properly, and then you'd have to take out the whole windshield and start over with a new windshield. And so it's just an absolute nightmare. So I don't know why they got to make new vehicles so complicated. I get the whole fuel injection and independent suspension and all that crap, but once it gets into all the electronic garbage that they have in there these days, I just don't enjoy any of that. So again, I'd much rather work on this old garbage. It's again, it's kind of a pain, but not nearly as bad as a modern vehicle. And like I said, I'm pretty new to doing any kind of seal type glass. When I was doing restorations, we'd always just hire somebody in to do that, and that way if they screwed something up, it was on them, but they usually did screw up, and then it just turned into a huge thing as well. So it's getting harder and harder to find anybody that knows how to do anything anymore. So I guess the more I can learn to do myself, the better off I'll be. So sometimes you gotta struggle through, and if there's a little collateral damage, a little broken glass, a little scratch paint now and then that's just the way it is, I guess. But the same thing seems to happen when you hire a professional these days. So we'll just, I guess, carry on here and continue to struggle. Again, we're using that tape at the top there. That's always a handy thing. That way you got a little bit of insurance if things decide to pop out on you. The back center glass I'm usually not too concerned about. I've got a few of those in stock, but these corner windows are a little hard to come by. And the original corner windows, they are tempered, but the new replacements are laminated apparently, but I've been told that they don't fit very well, and so I don't really want to ever find out how good they fit or not. So I don't know how many more of these corner windows I'll ever be putting in again, but hopefully 0, but you never know. So if I do, I'll certainly be trying to find more original glass to put in rather than fight with aftermarket glass. And for those of you who are new here, this truck was originally a 3-window. So the reason we're kind of concerned about any of this is because this thing was cut into quite a few different pieces in order to get the 3-window or 5-window conversion sorted out. And we did test fit the glass when it was in bare metal, so we now know that it fits. But this was, you know, whenever you're doing a lot of cutting and welding and stuff, especially around glass areas, it doesn't take much of a discrepancy before the thing won't fit back into place. So I know with the aftermarket 5-window conversion kit they make, I've noticed that the pinch weld on it is quite large, and I believe you have to cut it back if you want to stand any chance of getting the glass in. The factory pinch weld is only about 1/4 inch, so it's quite small. That was way easier than I thought it was going to be. That tool does a real swell job of installing that lock strip, I'll say that for sure. When I originally test fit this glass without the tool, it took me like 5 hours to put in these 3 pieces of glass, and with the tool is only like 45 minutes. So, and keep in mind I have no idea what I'm doing, and well, I guess this would be the second time installing these corner windows. The first time was test fitting it on the truck, so definitely made that job very easy. There's the brand and part number of the tool there. This one comes with two different thingies. I think they said this one is for a Dodge. There's that one. We used this one on the truck, and that just worked really good. And the other thing we used was this plastic thingy. That's just for, like, usually these get used on like urethane modern windshields and stuff for smoothing out the urethane and whatever, but just a plastic thingy. I'm sure there's a name for it, but I don't know what it's called. And I've also used this. This came with a bushwhacker fender flare kit, and it's for installing that seal around the bushwhacker fender flares. As a few of you longtime viewers will recall, we did a video on installing those flares on a 1940 Ford fender set. So we've got this hanging around. Sometimes that works good. I know they make that little thingy with the ball end on it, the metal one, but I figure I don't know if I really want to use a bunch of metal tools around glass and stuff, so I guess this is metal, but the less chance we have of destroying stuff, the better, I think. So this works pretty good for that. And then we also just used a little bit of soapy water, and yeah, that just went in very easily. So definitely pleased with this tool. Thanks again to Scott Miller and Mick, Joseph, and Mary over at Lazy Hound Racing for their generous donation that enabled us to buy this tool. If I'd have known it worked so well, I'd have bought it a lot sooner. But there it is, and definitely pleased with that. So speaking of generous donations, I've received a parcel in the mail from one of our viewers. I got a fairly good idea of what's inside, but you don't know, so I thought we'd all gather around and open it together and see what we got in here. Definitely looking forward to this, so hopefully you get a kick out of what we got. Certainly packaged well. Oh man. Oh, check that out. You don't know what the significance of these is. I'll explain that shortly, but they're pretty special. This is something I've been looking for quite some time, and one of our viewers, Tom S., reached out to me and said that he had a set, and incredibly generously offered to send me these all the way up from Arizona, I believe. So thank you very much, Tom. So for those of you who weren't able to immediately identify these are the hood side emblems for a 1936 Chevy truck. And these are quite hard to find, as I have discovered. Obviously, ours are missing. And I've been looking for a set of these for quite a while. And in fact, I even put out a wanted ad for them a couple years ago. And the only people I could find who were willing to part with them wanted to sell me the entire truck. As appealing as that sounds, I don't really have much use for a 1.5 ton 36 Chevy in the yard. So I'm just really pleased that Tom would go out of his way to send these up here for me. So right now we're knee deep in the 48 GMC, but I'm hoping in the next couple months we'll dedicate a video to getting these all cleaned up and what have you. And we've got to reattach our mounting studs or whatever. I think they were originally soldered on or held on with some sort of glue or something, so we'll figure something out there to get these mounted and on the truck. But I'm really looking forward to having that missing pieces of the puzzle attached on the truck. And obviously we're not painting the grill or the hood or the cab on this truck, so these will all blend in perfectly. We'll get them cleaned up and straightened out and whatever, and that'll be awesome. So just huge thank you again to Tom for sending these to me. This is that's so cool. This truck has been in my family for I think since the early 1981 or so. My dad originally bought it, and then I did some horse trading with him a couple of years ago and ended up with a truck. And obviously the emblem's been missing for who knows how long, so it's just really cool to finally have another missing piece of the puzzle for the truck. So yeah, pretty neat, I gotta say. Well, today I'm going to show you how you can fix a stone bruised windshield with basic household items and a positive attitude. Now the first thing you want to do is isolate all of these cracks so that they don't spread when you go to repair the chip. So for that I like to use this meat tenderizer hammer here, also known as a shrinking hammer, also known as a destroyer of sheet metal. And we're just going to take the meat tenderizer end of it here, and we'll just gently isolate all of these cracks to prevent them from spreading. And that ought to do it there. Now what you want to do is get all those cracks sealed up with our top secret auto body juice here. Despite what a lot of people say, there's no real need for a mixing board when you're using this stuff, especially if you're using it on a car. So whatever surface you're going to be applying the fill to is what becomes your mixing board. Save a lot of time that way. So what I'm doing now is I'm applying a skim coat of the glass repair compound to the edges of all of the stone bruises, and then we're just kind of fitting pieces back together. You don't have to worry about getting super accurate with this, as the glass repair compound will take up to an inch or so of discrepancy. So we're just kind of eyeballing it, and again, just applying a skim coat. Now is not the time for sloppy workmanship. The idea here, of course, is to end up with a beautifully metal finished piece of glass. So we're just kind of going over it now and just making sure everything's locked into place to our satisfaction. This is obviously quite important. And then we're just, again, putting a thin layer over top to metal finish out all of the stone bruises. This step is extremely critical. You don't want to apply this too thick, or you'll end up with cracking later on and unsatisfactory repair. Now a lot of people don't know this, but this windshield repair compound actually requires ultraviolet light in order for it to cure. Now I don't have one of them fancy lights, but this will actually work just as good. Well, there you have it. Glass has been cosmetically and structurally restored back to its former glory. Should provide many years of trouble-free service and much joy and happy memories to anyone who peers through it. Well, I just got back from getting my face tattoo. And big thank you to all of you on the last video there who gave me suggestions on what to get. I just wish I had a bigger face so I could incorporate all of your wonderful suggestions. But we'll do a reveal here shortly. and I think you're all going to be very pleased with what I went with. And while we're here, thanks to all you for watching. Thanks to all the people liking and commenting and doing all that stuff. And thanks to all the super thankers, as well as all of our patrons. Huge shout out to all of them. Thanks again to Tom S for the fantastic emblems for my 36. Really looking forward to getting those on. And thanks again also to Scott Miller and Mick and Joseph and Mary over at Lazy Hound Racing. That lock strip installation tool just made my life a whole lot easier, and anything that makes my life easier at this point is a huge bonus. So without further ado, we'll do our big tattoo reveal here. Oh, Jesus, ow. Well, after months of searching, I finally found the super rare and desirable windshield for the 1948 GMC. No. Oh, no. Nothing happening.